In satisfying the requirements for FSE 228, I'm here to give a brief historical sketch of the 94 years here at Clary Glenn Funeral Homes, in addition to give a brief interview by the owner, Mr. Joel Glenn, and give a brief summary of what I do on the day-to-day here in the office setting. So as I said, Clary Glenn Funeral Homes, which is currently owned by Joel and Paula Glenn, was opened 94 years ago in 1931. In 1931, Mr. John Page established Page Funeral Home at this very location. Two of his workers were Randolph Clary and Mercer Commander. In 1952, 21 years later, Mr. Page sold to Randolph Clary, so this place became Page Clary Funeral Home. That same year, Mr. Commander went down the road a few blocks and established Commander Funeral Home, which is just down the road to my right here. In 1985, this became Clary Godwin Funeral Home at this location. Both funeral homes, Clary Godwin and Commander down the road, were bought by prime succession in 1995. And throughout these years, an interesting fun fact is both funeral homes served as an ambulance service as well as a funeral home in the Walton County area and served the surrounding counties as well. My dad became manager of both Commander Funeral Home and Clary Godwin Funeral Home in 1997. And these were the only two funeral homes in Walton County. And he was the only licensed funeral director for these locations. He opened Clary Glenn Freeport Chapel Funeral Home in 2000, which is just about 16 miles south of us in the same county. He merged Commander Funeral Home and Clary Godwin Funeral Home in 2000 as well, and serve here at this location. All three funeral homes were purchased by Joel Glenn from Prime in 2004. And it was in 2004 where the dropping of the Commander and the Godwin names became Clary Glenn Funeral Homes Incorporated and Clary Glenn Freeport Chapel Funeral Home. The Glenn family has owned and operated the funeral home since 2004. We opened the crematory in 2016 at the Clary Glenn Freeport Chapel location just to our south. So if you follow me, I'll show you a few interesting historical items to illustrate the very brief sketch that I just gave. So follow me. If you look here, you see the original establisher, Mr. John Page. This is his Georgia State Board of Embalming license, as well as a picture of his graduating class, and also some certifications and certificates and licensure information as well for Mr. Page. And this gives a little bit of the information that I just said. And if you come around this way, this is where we meet with families and have our arrangement conference. At the top photo here, this is Mr. Randolph Clary in 1962, the second owner of the funeral home. And this is Mr. Mercer and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Commander, as well. And this is a photo from 2006 of Joel and Paula Glenn after they purchased it a few years later. And right behind us here is another picture of Mr. and Mrs. Commander. So these are a few little things we have to commemorate the past, because history and heritage is important as we continue to serve in the future the families that we have. So at this time, I'll give a brief interview with my dad, Mr. Joel Glenn, the owner. And I have 10 questions. Question number 1, how would you describe your experience in the funeral industry?
Experience is very rewarding, being able to help families have the most meaningful experience in celebrating the lives of their loved ones.
Number 2, how has the industry changed since you began?
In the last 35 years that I've been working in the funeral industry, we've seen many changes with some of those to include visitations. We used to have 2-night visitations, sometimes 3-night visitations. Now we're very rarely having an evening visitation. Most families are requesting that visitations and funerals are all in one day. We've seen a tremendous increase in the rate of cremation, which causes us to have celebration of life services. And we've also seen the introduction of family slideshows, social media, digital items being introduced in the funeral with websites, those types of things. So those are some of the most changes that we've seen in the funeral industry down through the years.
I think I know the answer to this next one, but number 3, have there been any OSHA improvements or health and safety improvements since 35 years ago?
Oh yes, OSHA's been very involved in making sure that the employees have safety and operating the funeral homes for the embalmers with personal protective equipment, formaldehyde monitoring, lots of things to ensure the safety of the employees in the funeral home industry.
Okay, number 4, you've alluded to this already, but describe visitations, please, and how they have changed.
Visitations have changed in, as I said earlier, that we're seeing very rarely that visitations are held the evening before. We do see some of that, but it's very rare. Most visitations are the same day of the funeral services.
Okay, number 5, what is your opinion about the online education or the distance learning routes for students like myself at Jeff State?
I think it's a very good opportunity for students to have flexibility in being able to work in the funeral home setting, be able to receive their education from a mortuary college. That was not a luxury that was afforded to me when I was in mortuary college, so I think it's a great blessing, a great encouragement to mortuary students.
Number 6, did you learn anything at Jeff State that has helped your career?
Absolutely. Jefferson State College has been a tremendous help to me in the industry, training me and preparing me for the funeral industry. I had some tremendous instructors that was there, Dr. William Counts, Dr. James Townsend, Dr. Simmons, many instructors there that taught us the skills that we need to carry on and become more educated in the industry.
Okay, what are some important qualities to have if you are an aspiring funeral director or owner?
One of the greatest qualities, I think, is to have compassion for the families that you're serving. The families need to see that it's more than a business, that you do really care for them and have a compassion to help them celebrate the life of their loved ones.
Okay, number 8, would you change any laws that are currently in place?
Changing any laws, I think all the laws that we have are adequate. In the state of Florida, I'm very thankful for the laws that we do have. It helps keep our industry above board for cremations, for funerals, burials, education, licensure. So I think the laws we have are accomplishing what needs to be accomplished, and I'm glad they are in place.
Good. Is there something in the industry that should be addressed or thought about moving forward?
I think moving forward, I think the industry is really doing a great job taking care of the families in the communities that we serve. As a funeral home industry, I think everything is working quite nicely. I've been working in the industry for 35 years, and I don't see any significant changes that needs to be made. I think everything's going great.
Number 10, last question. What is the most rewarding aspect of the funeral industry?
Most rewarding aspect is being able to see a family that has been well served, well pleased, well satisfied, and for that family to acknowledge what you and your staff have done to help celebrate the life of their loved one. And at the end of the day, you know you've done your job well and you have pleased the family, and it's a memory that they will have for the rest of their life, and that's very rewarding.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if you'll follow me this way, I'll give you a rundown of some responsibilities that I have on the day-to-day. So here at the front door, oftentimes if I'm available or not doing any other tasks, I will welcome families in by opening the door for them. I will greet them, give them my condolences if I was not the one that went to make the transfer at their residence or hospital stay. In here, I will offer them, if you'll get a shot of this here, some coffee or some water. I will make the coffee or water for them. I will invite them to be seated here at the arrangement conference table. And that's what I'll do whenever a family comes in. And if you get a shot back here, this is just more lounge area for families that are waiting or families that are in the process of making arrangements. So here in the restroom, I will make sure the restroom here is stocked. I'll make sure the restroom here is cleaned. and keep coming this way. This is more licensure information. This is my dad's degrees and certifications and whatnot. And then here is our office building. This is where all the good stuff happens. Here is my mother's desk, the office manager and operator, my dad's desk. Here is our board of current at-need cases. And if you want to follow me this way, here also is where all the documentation is. This is where embalming reports are made. This is where I'll help make phone calls to families, whether it be letting them know about the status of monuments, of VA markers that I set out, any arrangements, whether it be escorts or things of that nature that I will help make arrangements for. This is where we do that. So keep coming this way. And this is more office space for both Crystal and Chelsea or Brittany, and this is where they do things. I'll try to help them out in any way. I'll take trash out for them, help make errands, run errands with the office girls for sure. So continuing this way, timesheets, we have our gas information here. This is where when I fill up with gas, I will make notes of oil changes, vehicles if they need maintenance, vehicles if they need gas. Any vehicle information we have records for with the keys here. So we have a funeral hearse, we have a removal hearse, we have 2 lead cars, a flower van, and 2 removal vans. So that's all vehicle information that I help keep track of there. This is our casket selection room. And here I'll just make sure whenever Batesville or Covington Casket Company comes and drops off any caskets, this is where I will bring them into. They're stocked in here. I'll go ahead and get it set up. The price information is set up accordingly, and I will make sure everything is properly and sufficiently set up for families to view so they're not viewing an unset up casket. So this stuff around here, I'll just make sure everything is dusted, everything is organized appropriately. The same thing here with our urn selection, our vault selection, some more of that on this side. And of course, we have a catalog book if a family chooses to order something that's not in stock. We try to keep a lot of popular items in stock, but the book we use also. So if you come this way, back in the arrangement conference room, we have our closet here where we keep music stuff. Here to the left is our iPad. We do everything with our music through iPad. We have an iPad at each location for musical services, and we have a mobile iPad that we take to grave sites or churches as our sound option. We have a speaker there also. Any extra stuff, whether it be medallions, cap panels, anything is back there, funeral bags, urn vaults, all that kind of stuff is kept in here, along with the past 2 to 3 years of records. So that's that room. And I will run errands, whether it be, hey Derek, go to the 2023 files, grab this case for me. I do that. So keep following this way. This is some parking that we have for friends for funeral services. I'll make sure everyone that are friends are able to park in this section here if you continue this way. Here's our smoking section for funeral services. If someone needs to smoke, we encourage them to come out here. I'll make sure this is swept, ashtrays are taken care of, and keep coming. The building to my left here is the chapel building. This is where the funerals and memorial services happen. Between the 2 buildings here, to my right is the office building, to my left is the chapel building. This space here that I'm standing at is where the family and pallbearers go through procession after the service to go to the cemetery. At the front line, I will have my father, his vehicle is lined up at the front as the lead car. Behind him are where all the pallbearers here will park. I will get them all set up and I'll put a flower on their lapel as pallbearers. Keep following me this way. The hearse will park about where that white arrow is. So when the service is over here in the chapel, we will take the casket down the side ramp here out to the back of the hearse. And I will be doing that as well. And to the behind the hearse, there will be 3 pallbearers on each side of the hearse. We will take the casket to the pallbearers as they're waiting for us, and we will place the casket in the back of the hearse. Straight in front of me here is the outside door to the entrance to the prep room. And here to my left is the cooler room where we have our cooler space as well. Here to the center of the parking lot is where our family will park. The family parks here, and as the hearse is here, as the hearse goes in procession following the pallbearers, the family, next to kin first, follows the hearse en route to procession. And further back is where the majority of the friends will park following the family in procession to the cemetery. I will set up cones at funerals here in the family section to let the family know where to park. Here to my left is the building where we keep our hearses. We have a funeral hearse and we have a removal hearse, both here, and I keep charge of their cleanliness, their oil changes, their services, their gas, things of that nature. We keep those in there. It's a very tight room, so even if we went in there, it'd be hard to show without taking them out because they take up so much space. So keep following me. These steps here lead us to the back of the chapel. The florist will come and park here, deliver all the flowers to us. I will haul all the flowers from the florist van to the chapel to set them up for the service. We will also park, we will park our flower van here. After the funeral service, we will take all the flowers from the chapel, put them in our flower van. The flower van driver, oftentimes me if I'm not driving the hearse, will go before us to the cemetery to set up the flowers at the graveside before the procession gets there. So keep following me. This is the back door. The family's coming to the front door, but we'll go through the back for the sake of the purposes of this video. The alarm is here, restroom is here. I will make sure the restroom here in our chapel area is always stocked, always clean, has paper towels, toilet paper, things of that nature. We will play the family slideshow here in this kitchen lounge area for the family as they lounge and don't want to be part of the chapel festivities. I'll put the slideshow up at this TV. This is our kitchen area. We have water available, we have a drink machine, we have coffee, and I will get all that set up, cleaned up, stocked up, and ready to go for the family prior to their arrival here for their service. And this is just some table space, more lounge space. We have a prayer room, and I'll invite the minister. Once he arrives, I'll go through the order of service with him. Once he's content and good to go, I will let him know once you speak to the family, if you want some personal time of prayer or preparation, come to this prayer room and make use of it. Upstairs here is our more casket space where we keep more caskets and all of our records, Miss Smith, that go all the way back to the 1950s. Every year since the 1950s when Mr. Page ran the place is up here, and row after row of file cabinets of records from back then. And believe it or not, I can even remember before this was remodeled, we would bring the prep room in those days was where the kitchen is now. So that was preparation room, and we would lower the caskets from upstairs into the prep room for casketing purposes. So many changes have been made since even from 2000. So keep following me. Here's a nursery area for whining children. This room here is where we keep register stands, easels, table easels, extra chairs, tables, veterans flags, tablecloths. If there were veterans, I will set up flags for each veteran. And we will take this stuff I will take this stuff to cemeteries or to other churches that may not be supplied for funeral services. So for each off-campus funeral that we do, we take a lot of this stuff with us to set up at churches or cemeteries. So keep following me. This is one side entrance to the front here of the chapel. And as we approach this room here, this is where the main entrance is to the chapel. So when a family arrives, they will enter through this room here. This is the main entrance to our chapel. We have the men's restroom on the right, the ladies' restroom on the left. As the family comes in and I escort them into the front door here, Ms. Smith, I will give a welcoming statement to the family. I will let them know where the restrooms are. I will let them know about the orders of service and the literature that we provide. I will let them know about the register book, the guest book that they are able to sign as well. And as they gather, we wait for all the family to arrive. We have these two chapel doors closed until all the family gets here, Ms. Smith. Then I will oftentimes ask the family if they would like for me to open up in prayer before they enter the chapel together to have the first viewing of their loved one. So as we enter the chapel, this is what it looks like. I will make sure everything is swept. There's no trash on the pews. I will reserve about 5 or 6 spaces for the family at the front left of the chapel. I will reserve 1 space for the pallbearers at the front right pew of the chapel. I will always make sure the celebrant or the pastor, the speaker, whoever's doing this service has water. I'll make sure it's clean up there for him, and I will show him his area before he proceeds with the service so he knows what he's stepping up into. So keep following me. Here's our bier, and we love history around here. We love heritage. This bier and the 2 columns next to it for the family pieces are actually built from some of the foundation of the original building here at Clary Glen Funeral Home, or what was Page Clary Funeral Home. As the flowers get here, I will arrange them appropriately, get them all set up. If we have a piano player, I will set up the piano for her or him, get it set up, get it cleaned and good to go. Here, if we have a singer, the singer, I will set up a spot here away from the viewing of the congregation so that he may sing. I will get his speakers set up so he has an ear for what he's singing to. And if you'll follow me, you see our flower stands that I keep organized. Here's our sound room, Ms. Smith, where I keep the iPad and the sound system. I'll get it all turned on. This is where I do all the music for 99% of the services. From here, I control the music. I control the volumes for everything. I control the video and the slideshow for when it's appropriate to show it or not. I'm in charge of this in here. And here's another restroom as well. And this is the back door once the service is over. We'll bring the flowers out. Pallbearers will help us get the flowers to the van. The van rider will head out to the cemetery to precede us that are in the procession. So that's give or take outside of removals that I do. I do a lot of the removals, whether it be day or night. So transfer of remains, whether it be at a residence or at a hospital, I take care of that also. So setting up for funerals, tearing down from funerals, interacting with family, helping in the office, going on removals, helping at the crematory, which is another thing at another location. Our crematory is actually at our Freeport location down at towards the south end. So I help with crematory stuff down there also. So that's in a nutshell a lot and most of the responsibilities that I have on the day-to-day here at Clary Glen Funeral Home. So thank you very much.